All right, well, here we go. Always a good time. Good. Howdy, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I am definitely okay. How about yourself? Hopefully, you didn't have any more reasons to not be having a good day. Trying to adjust the camera so y'all can actually see me a little bit. JB, howdy, sir. Great to see you. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Cutting a cigar. Didn't really have time to do it before I started. Mostly because I started a little later than I had anticipated. No fault of yours. Definitely not a fault of yours. Just had stuff getting in my way all day, doing everything I could to get it out here on time. Howdy, Paul. Great to see you, sir. It is a little chillier than I prefer today. So, if y'all see me looking like I'm a little cold, it's because I feel like I am. Howdy, Jose Golf Piper. Oh, got a good crowd tonight. Oh, got to go back to the hospital, but it's only for a checkup. All right, so Sharon, remember, we're here for you. There is no reason to feel panicky. And if you start feeling that panic coming on your way, you just remember there's a lot of people that love you. You don't have to feel any kind of panic. Now, granted, some of us are very far away, but we think of you often, and nothing but nice things. Hopefully that'll help. But everything I said was true, so, like I said, hopefully that'll help. By the way, I'm having a budget cigar. This is a La Aroma de Cuba. It is not Cuban. The smell of Cuba. Doesn't even smell like Cuban. But hey, there it is. That's the straight up statement of truth. I'm going to smoke a cigar, and we're going to hang out, and then we're going to go hang out with Willie and John over at the Nashville Mafia. Now, y'all remember, Paul's an enforcer over there, so if you act all crazy tonight, he's probably going to bust some kneecaps and stuff. Not a problem, Sharon. It's really the truth. Howdy, Horatio. Great to see you, sir. Hopefully, Horatio will also be joining us over at the Nashville Mafia. He makes great videos. So give him some sub love if you can. If you can't, figure out a way to do it. Just say it. Yeah, there's been a lot of negativity as of late, craziness, bad stuff. Let's just try to put it behind us. Relax, have something to smoke, have a drink if you're inclined, and let's just have a good time. I mean, it's hump day. I need a camel out here so that I can say, hump day, yeah. Uh-oh, thongs and yellow gun boots. Yeah, we don't need to go there. So, a little bit of housekeeping to get things back to the way things should be. If you've been looking for some J Mouton pipes, they're going to be available at Tobacco Pipes soon. I don't know how soon, but right now if you went to tobaccopipes.com and you decided you were going to look for J Mouton pipes, it shows you a blank screen. But sources I have, well, because I read the blog today, it tells me that J Mouton pipes are going to be showing up at the tobaccopipes.com. So if you want a J Mouton pipe and you don't feel like you really want to special order one specifically, I would suggest starting to watch that website pretty hard, because that's the only website that you're going to find it unless you're contacting Jay specifically. Howdy, Everett. Great to see you, sir. Now, for those that don't know who J Mouton is, walk into this. Just walk into it as fast and as hard as you can. I obviously can't slap you, but I can't keep you from walking into my open hand. Because if you don't know who J Mouton is yet, you've probably just woke up from a couple of years of coma and you might need to just slap yourself. Wonderful pipe maker. Lives pretty much next door in Louisiana. He's made some pipes that will make you go, holy cow. And he's continuing to do so. Oh, plus all the help he's been giving to children that are in special needs, such as the Shriners and St. Jude's. So, yeah, he kind of does some work. And yeah, his pipes are on my list. I'm bucket list. I'm going to get one. I will eventually have some money put together, and I will say, Jay, make me a pipe. I'm going to give him the instructions of just make me a pipe. I will not, because I know I want one. I'm pretty much going to do the same thing to Phil Rivera. I just got to put the money together. It would help if I wasn't spending $2,000 at Christmas time on a cat. Oh well, cat with cancer. What can you do? Okay, another thing that came up in reasonably weird chat. I saw these pipes that are coming out, and they have these weird digital looking stem. They're like something out of Minecraft or something, all square, blocky looking things, except for they're rounded and smooth and shiny and all that. Howdy, Steve and Miss Kathy. How are y'all today? Now, I mentioned this because it was mentioned in the blog, and I know that at some point there's a certain guy named Phil who won't be in tonight. I know he's not, but he's going to be listening to this probably when he wakes up in the morning, because when he's busy doing a first cup of tea and smoking his first pipe, as he gets his mind right ready for work, he tends to find some station that has something maybe interesting. And well, if you don't know, sometimes I'm somewhat interesting. Barely. It's more like just something to listen to, chatter in the background. That way he can hear it. It's almost like not being the only person alive at his house at the time. I understand it. Oh, yeah. Well, Steve and Kathy, y'all are colder than I am, and I'm pretty chilly right now, but I am outside. Because, Lord help me if I try to smoke a cigar inside the house. World War III hath no fury like a pissed off mother-in-law. Trust me, I'm not going into that bear trap. Anything short of a freaking tank. Howdy, Doc. Great to see you, sir. Now, so Bill was mentioning about the weird types of pipe stems that are coming out, and how he's barely getting into the swirly, fancy looking ones, because for pretty much most of his life he was like, pipe, black stem. That was it. Pipe, black stem. That's what he likes. And you know, there's something to be said about a shiny black stem that is just elegant. It's like a woman in that little black dress. Every guy in here knows what I'm talking about. And every woman who ever listens to this should know what I'm talking about. There's that one perfect dress for most women out there. And 90% of the time, it will be in the color of black. It will look good on them no matter how they feel. And that's what I think about black pipe stems. I mean, there it is. It's that one color that's such a classic that it should never go away. But now they're coming up with these insane materials to make pipe stems out of. And as I told him, he better be careful, or they're going to start making pipe stems out of that magic eye fractal stuff, and they're going to leave him looking for various different things in his pipe stem. Paul, I don't believe you could make a pipe from an antler as an all-in-one. I think it would be better if you did it somewhat like a cob would, where you get your antler, which in this case would look like this crazy pipe that I carved, and then you fit a stem and a shank into it. At least that would be my take on it. Now, I might be wrong on that. Pipes and Pores, howdy Brian. Great to see you, sir. Well, Paul, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I would think that by the time you cleaned the antler out enough that you could turn it into a pipe, as far as it being a stem, that material would get very warm, and I'm not sure that it would be far enough away from the portion that you're using as a bowl to not cause issues. Plus, as you clean it out, it's going to have a much more wide open draw than, say, a 3 or 6 or 9 millimeter. If you're using a antler, you have to really gauge that. But if you don't clean out certain parts of that, you can, well, remember, it's not like briar where it's just a piece of wood. It was an animal something or other. There could be various different other things in the antler that you don't really want sticking in your mouth. I'm not sure, but I mean, oh, and Steve says that he smoked a pipe that was made with antler and that it tastes like how burning hair smells, which, yeah, that would be my worry. Antler has a lot of calcium in it. Howdy, James Stumbo. Great to see you, sir. Wouldn't last long as a pipe, plus the smell would be awful. Okay, so I've seen some various different antlers and cattle horns. Now, I know that, like, cattle, this is Texas, I've been around cattle horns. If you take a bull's horn and you don't clean all that stuff out, that stuff gets rancid. And it will leave the worst smelling crap right there at your mouth. And let's just say, you've seen the horns that are turned into drinking cups and stuff. They take a lot of time and wash it with a lot of chemicals, and then they sterilize it, and then they coat it, and finally they turn it into a drinking vessel of some sort. But until they do a lot of work, oh my God, yeah. And of course, that's, like I said, that's cattle. That's, something that goes moo. I know about that kind of a horn. I've never considered doing it with antlers because, well, quite honestly, I never collected antlers. Never wanted to collect antlers. And Brian, yes, antler is going to be a lot more like bone, whereas horn is actually, technically, it's a growth of hair. Yes, a lot of things are made from horn. Huva Ilta Boris, great to see you, sir. And howdy Zippo, great to see you too. And Jeff, howdy, sir. Jeff, sorry I missed your live yesterday. I didn't know it was on, and I went inside and was doing some stuff, and I turned around, no notification from YouTube, and I finally got down to lay down for bed, and I gave it a check, and you had signed off like 10 minutes ahead of that. And I was just like, damn it. Paul, I would say that Indians have been using wood for a long, oh my God, time. 8 minutes till wrestling. You know, James likes his wrestling. Him and Hunter, they hang out, they watch wrestling. It just is. That's the way it works. It's basically a male soap opera, in my opinion. But hey, some of that stuff is actually really kind of useful. But as far as the WWE goes, if you think you're standing up after Andre the Giant steps on your chest and puts all of his weight on one foot on your chest, and it's not been choreographed and practiced and everything else, let's just say no, probably not going to happen. You're probably going to have your chest caved into your backbone. But hey, James, don't worry. I understand the tradition. My grandfather watched it with me. But I'm going to tell you right now, he would beat you half to death if you were, like, sitting on his lap. Because he'd be like... I'm talking about the one that died when I was, like, 5. So it was kind of a tradition there. And it was one that I didn't pass on to my son, but... long story. We'll not really get into that right now. Oh man, there's been a lot of professional football players that didn't really pan out in the NFL and then went to wrestling. Paul, check out what Steve wrote right there. I'll tell you right now, Indians have a tradition that's back before time of doing crazy inventive stuff with wood. I mean, the Native American flute, which Steve and Mark TPI, both of them have played, both of them have made. I don't know when those started being made, but I'm going to tell you it was a long, oh my God, long time ago. I'm not certain when the first one was made, but they've been around for well before Americans were Americans. They were around well before Europeans sailed across an ocean to visit America. And I'm talking about the first Europeans. We're not talking about Christopher Columbus. He's just the first quote unquote recorded. But if you gather around a little bit, you should know that there were some Viking tribes that went across on a northern route, and they followed seabirds that they knew had to land on land to survive, but they followed it from Scotland over to Iceland, over to Greenland, over to Canada, and you know, there they were. The Vikings were visiting United States of America way before Christopher Columbus ever figured it out. And yes, there's actually old Viking settlements here in the United States that have been dug up and covered. Oh, James, thank you, sir. You have a great night and enjoy your time with your son. I'm telling you, that crap goes too fast. And so I'm going to tell you, sometime around 700 BC or 700 years after Christ is like the first possibly Norse getting over to the Americas. And now that sounds like I'm talking crap, but there were Indians from up in the Northeast that were talking about white men that were much taller than whatever, and nobody could figure out what they were talking about. Southern Piper, howdy, sir. So, I mean, it was like, how did they know about coyotes in the Norse tradition when they didn't have coyotes where the Norse were? And there were just, there's some mixing of some various different things there that it's like, what in the heck? And if you start looking back at things, you start realizing that, yeah, they probably did figure out a way to mingle a little bit. And then, as has turned out, there's, like I said, there's some digs that have happened up on somewhere near the Canadian and American border that have found like completely ridiculous Norse settlements that were wiped out probably by crazy amounts of snow, but wiped out, covered up, and basically buried. And they've been able to figure out and carbon date some of that stuff that's there back to, well, it had to have been around this time. And some of the symbols that are on, symbols and runes that are there, correlate back to a certain time period in the Norse tradition that would say 700-ish AD. All I'm doing is reading other people's research, but it's there. You just have to dig for it. And they did, literally, dig for it. Yes, that's correct. Now we have wolves and foxes here in the Americas, so no big deal. But coyotes, going back into the Norse storytelling, uh, which was, if you look into some of the stories of Loki, one of the Norse gods of shape-shifting and trickery, he was often said to be sly like a coyote, which didn't mean anything over in Europe, or at least that section of Europe where the Norse had come from. How'd they know about coyotes unless they were told about coyotes or had witnessed coyotes or experienced coyotes? Coyotes are all over America. Yes, Steve, that is very true. There's certain Indian artifacts that were so in line in design of uh, Stone and Bronze Age Norse designs that, but it's separated by so much ocean. How did that happen that these two designs are so much alike? Yeah, it's there. Like I said, you just have to dig. Well, Paul, I want to tell you, I grew up around some Indians, and what they can teach you about living outdoors is phenomenal. Uh, to to a extent that it's half of it's not even believable until you figure it out. That, oh yeah, it works. Uh, Indians knew that you could boil water in a birch bark bowl. Now think about this: birch will burn. And but they knew how. All you got to do is make sure that the water stays higher than the flames. It works. In fact, you can boil water in a paper bag doing the same exact thing. Zippo, that's very true. Also, I believe that if you look at the Bible that says there was a great flood. Okay, there was a great flood. Let's go ahead and use that as a actual event that happened. Let's just go ahead and say that, yeah, that happened. You know, right about the same time as the Great Flood in the Bible, there is a mythological event that happened on several different continents all over the planet. There's this Atlantis or Atlantis-like event that happened to everywhere. And how did the Atlantis type event happen to everywhere? It obviously wasn't one city, it was obviously several. It's either that or ancient man could travel way better than we can now. But one of the things I thought was interesting, uh, if you are to go to some of the fjords there in, you know, Finland, Norway, Sweden, right in that area, and if you have the right equipment, you get down low enough, you can find old settlements completely covered with water where they've got all the makings of, all you got to do is pump all the water down to this level, and hey, look, there's all the makings of a village right there. Well, chances are the water was much lower then. And then you go over to, I guess it's China. China has a whole city that's down in a lake, that's down in a valley. And according to Chinese, in the space of 2 days, that valley went from with a little bitty pond in the middle to completely covered with water. 2 days. Steve, that is very, very true. And a lot of people just don't know. But a lot of people have also not lived rough. They like their creature comforts. So then they end up with a pack that weighs 85 pounds and they can barely cross the street with it. But let's see, there's stories of Atlantis from Mexico and Peru and from Chile and from Brazil and from various places in Africa. How did all of these places have an Atlantis if that event didn't happen? So yes, I think that the flood in the Bible, it actually happened. And as time's going by, more and more people are finding more and more of these Atlantises all over the map. Paul, I'm fairly certain that the human condition would eventually evolve to live entirely in a water environment if that's all that was available. I mean, it comes down to survival of the fittest. Those that couldn't survive it because genetically they just couldn't possibly, wouldn't live long enough to procreate, and eventually people would adapt physically enough that it would be just whatever it is. JB, no, I did not. But thanks for mentioning it. I will be at some point trying to give that a look. At Zippo, yes, I do believe that that was a terrible movie. Though I did date a girl that looked like that one girl. For a couple of, I don't know, month, 2 months. It was, you know. Oh, yes. Howdy, Martin. Great to see you, sir. It is pretty warm. If by warm you're saying if Boris was here, yeah, he'd be in a wife beater and swim trunks. Steps off the coast of Japan. Okay, I will Google that. Now, everybody asked Martin how his trip to the photo booth was, and if his singing voice has come back after they took pictures. But yeah, there's a whole lot of funny, crazy things that have happened in the world if you go back to the beginning of some sort of recorded history, and howdy Gamecock, great to see you, sir. And you know, I'm not here to try and convince anybody that anything's right, wrong, or indifferent, but you know, some things are definitely been proven. There was obviously a great flood. Okay, that's been proven. Mostly by how many different people of various different languages all know about something called Atlantis that is from pretty much nowhere. But it's also everywhere. I mean, it's ridiculous. If you think about it, it's definitely ridiculous. So many communities having the same legend of a sinking city. And if you ask them how far back you got to go to find that, they're like, I don't know, like forever. Well, Paul, I have a reasonable supposition about how much ice it would have taken and where it all basically came from. Now, a lot of people think that I'm crazy when I say this, but if you look at how long people lived you got to go back and use that Bible as a basis. People living for almost 1,000 years. And then you start looking at what UV rays do to aging things. UV rays definitely age things. That's been proven. If you go with the idea that there was a column of ice, North Pole, and a column of ice, South Pole, and about a foot thick covering of ice all the way around the world. Now, how high up that was, I don't know. I can't tell you that because I don't have a basis for giving you that exact number. But then you look at, there was a world-changing event. Hey, look, all the dinosaurs died? What was that about? Except for they didn't all die, but that's a different story. And what would it have taken to break through a big-ass ice dome and to cause enough heat to melt it all at pretty much the same basic moment of time? Well, an asteroid or comet hitting, say, roughly somewhere just south of Texas. What, in a location that's pretty much now considered the Gulf of Mexico, that has all the concentric rings. If you look at a topographical map of a asteroid, meteor, or comet striking a surface. Interesting. Maybe it's possible that we did have some sort of an ice dome, because if you take a foot worth of ice, sun will shine through it. You'll still be able to see. The world would be cooler. and it would block most of the UV rays entirely right back out into space. There's a whole lot of science that's involved in that whole idea, but I talked with some people that were scientists, and they were like, man, yeah, that's actually pretty possible. Well, Paul, some dinosaurs survived and some didn't. Most of them all died off at basically all about the same time. And yes, there are chickens. Birds have scaled feet. They are much closer related to lizards than people want to admit. Did the big ones survive? Well, not as many as people would like to say. But at the same time, the quote-unquote woolly mammoth that people think had all died off way back when. But there's old Indian tribes that have literally talked in their own storytelling about hunting something that would resemble an elephant, except for it was very hairy and shaggy. Sounds like a woolly mammoth to me. JB, I wouldn't doubt that there probably is some pottery in South America showing people riding dinosaurs. And as long as there's gamecocks, there are people that believe in lizards. Oh, Martin, that sounds something that you and Mortensen J. Crow would do. By the way, if anybody sees Ben Greenman, let him know his answer is out there. Something about some blue chews. Now, I'm not saying that you got to watch Over a Pipes channel with Mortensen J. Crow, but pretty funny stuff. I might not have heard every song out there. In fact, there's a lot of songs I never heard. Martin, I'm not surprised if you lost it during the recording of that. That was some funny stuff. What tobacco should I smoke before a first date? Don't make it cigars, right, Martin? Oh. Martin, I mean, that's what tailgating's about, is having fun. At least that's what I think it's about. By the way, on a normal basis, Nashville Mafia does start their show pretty close to now. So if anybody gets any notifications, please let everybody in chat know so we can all jump over there. I know, we're still going to be getting there, and it's going to be black screen, nothing really going on. Oh, you just got the notice. All right, Southern. Nice. Okay, well, YouTube does not inform me hardly ever. So there it is. Just proof. I did not get the notice, but I know it's about now that's time. So, tailgaters of all ages, well, hopefully you're all over 21, because that's what they want us to all be. Anyways, I have had so much fun having y'all over tonight. Every last one of you. Take care of yourselves. Do the best you can with that. Then take care of each other. And of course, do the best you can with that. And as per always, remember, long lives, big bowls, and long ashes. Y'all take care. I'll see you over there on the Nashville Mafia Live channel here in just a minute. Y'all take care, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.